So just so welcome to the rescheduled Whitaker Community Council General Meeting for February. It is February 28th. Just so that you all know, the meeting is being recorded. We spend our first 10 minutes from 7 to about 7:10 for any open or public comment. We have a pretty substantial schedule today. We're excited. We have some great speakers, great presentations. Is there anyone in the audience before we talk about? Miranda, do you want to talk about how to raise your hand and do all that? Fantastic.
Sure. If you'd like to participate anyway, there are several ways to note that. You can simply raise your hand and I'll keep track of that for you. Or at the bottom of your screen in what's titled More, if you click that on, there's a button called Reactions. And in Reactions, you can raise your hand like this. And then we know you have a question. So either of those is great. Thank you for being here.
Right, and there's also a chat. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see there's already a red, I think it says 1. I can't really see it from where I am. But if you want to say something in the chat, you can just click on that button and then it puts it in the chat. And Doriandra, thank you very much for running the meeting tonight. It's much appreciated. As some of you know, Doriandra is our new, she's our newly appointed executive director of the Whitaker Community Council. The first paid position I've ever had, that is a W-2. She's actually an employee, not a contractor. So we're very happy and very excited to have her. So do we have any public comment? Anything anybody want to talk about? Yeah?
Go for it.
Yes,
My name is Will Phillips. I've got a home on one side of the tracks, a business on the other side of the tracks. And
here, hold on, Will.
For slip, I realized there's background music on, so I'm just getting rid of that so that it doesn't.
Oh, thank you. Can you make it take the whole screen?
Yep.
Hold on a second. Thank you, Will. This is also, we had some technical difficulties. Just so everyone knows, last month we had some technical difficulties. The mission actually upgraded their system, which clearly has made a difference. Thank you, Will.
Will Phillips, I have a home on one side of the railroad tracks and a business on the other side of the railroad tracks. And people on both sides are always asking me what's happening with it. I have referred them to the city's website. It seems to me, they've been doing work right at Van Buren Crossing there, and I thought maybe that's be it. It's like, no, it's not. I talked to the railroad guys about this. So I'm trying to find out where we're at with that. I understand it's just kind of getting contractors now, or how is the progress of the question?
Well, we do have a city liaison. Thea, do you know the answer to that question?
I did email, I think. So I heard that. So
Okay,
I was trying to get some information.
that's a very good question, actually. Thea, do you know the answer to that?
So I do not know the answer to that, but at the end of our presentation, there will be a link to UP and to Union Pacific, and you can ask questions there. I can reach out to Lindsay Leach and see if she knows anything, or my other city contacts.
Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic.
I'll be happy to get back to you.
Yeah, and just so that you all know, actually, Lindsay Leach and Barbie will be here on the 14th of March for questions, and we can figure out who we want for city council.
Nice. Just to add to that, I've also looked at the website. I was curious as well. And yeah, it turns out that Accord has compelled Union Pacific to actually implement those double gates. And they say by implementing the double gate crossings, they won't have to honk as much. And so Accord has compelled them actually in 2024 to complete that work. So they are in the contracting stage, but it has to legally be done within the year 2024, or else they get punitive action against them. So it's their incentive to get it done this year. If it's not done this year, something wrong has happened, so.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic, all right, and if everyone could do me a favor, when you go to speak, just introduce yourself.
Yeah.
So that we know who you are. That way I don't have to say, hey, you.
That's, yeah.
Is there any other public comment?
Yeah.
Yes, Thea?
I just pulled it up online. The city has a site online. When you type in Railroad Quiet Zone Eugene, the timeline is, construction is to start in 2025. Van Buren will get quad gates, Monroe, Madison quad gates, Jefferson will continue to be one way, Washington gets quad gates, Lawrence gets mediums, Lincoln gets quad gates, Pearl, High, 8th and Hilliard all will have quad gates. So it looks like construction won't actually start until 2025. It's out for bids now.
Thank you very much for that
His
information.
website.
Do we have any other comments? Anything anybody want to talk about? Okay, fantastic. So, what we do ask is we have some, presentations today. And we ask that while that's happening, if you could put yourself, on mute so that we get rid of any background noise. And if you have any questions, if we could try to wait till the end, perhaps you could put them in the chat. And so we don't forget, Mariandra can, read them off at the end of the presentation. That would be fantastic. So, let me introduce, this is, the Yes for 4J Schools campaign. There is a levy that will raise some money, that goes directly into the classroom to benefit the children. And from what I understand is that levy comes up every 5 years. Correct, and we have to vote on it every 5 years, and that happens to be this year. So they're gonna give us a presentation on what that means, what happens with the money, and then we'll, if you have any questions afterwards, that would be great. Please.
Hi, I'm Vera Steele and I'm a volunteer on the local option committee.
I'm gonna say more than that. My name is Paul Nugent. I am a retired teacher in Fort Jones, so we're both volunteers. For 22 years, I was in the classroom. For 8 years, I was president of the Eugene Education Association, and then 4 years, I was co-president with Humera. So we've had a long involvement, especially in the district, but also with the local option, because it came into being during the time that we were both active as employees for J. And I have a connection also that I taught for 5 years at Whitaker, and it was 5 of the best years that I ever had. So I always sad to see it go.
Can everyone hear that?
Guess not.
No, Dory Anderson, yes, thumbs up, so, okay, great. Please.
Yes.
So right now, we'll just tell you a little bit of information about the local option and what it is and what it isn't. And we also have some flyers for you, and then we'll take questions if you have questions. The local option is a small property tax, and it's used to boost funding for local schools. And basically what it does is it pays teachers, teaching assistants, and adults that are in classrooms. It's not used for buildings, and that's a confusion. A lot of people think it is, but it is not. The local option raises about $25 million a year, which is equivalent to 205 teachers or 30 teaching assistants or 32 school days.
300.
300 teaching assistants. I have a correction.
You have a math teacher.
Yes, thank you. And that's just how huge 4J is, that it would be 25 million, and that's 10.5% of general funds. This is, I already mentioned that the levy is different than construction bonds, which have been passed. They can only be used for buildings and physical infrastructure. this money, the levy goes directly to the classroom.
As was mentioned earlier, it has to be renewed every 5 years, and that's what's happening now. And the voters in the district have overwhelmingly supported the local option, which is truly appreciated by everyone associated with 4J. It'll be on the ballot in May. The key thing to know is that it's not going to raise your taxes. It's the same rate that it was for now 24 years. And that's $1.50 per 1,000 of assessed value. And that's subject to Measure 5. All of that's taken into consideration. So, for example, if you had a property that was appraised at $250,000, but it was market value was $300,000, the $1.50 would be assessed on the difference between $250 and $300. It's not assessed on the whole market value of the property. That kind of makes sense, okay? We know how important it is to have teachers in the classroom. COVID has shown us that kids need to be present and they need to be there with adults for them to be making the kind of gains we need them to have as future citizens. And the idea of losing 200 teachers from our schools is pretty overwhelming. So we are hoping you will vote yes, and that you'll help us get this passed by reminding all the people that you know who live in 4J to vote yes. And what Mary and I decided to do is that we are going to ask 8 questions and answer them. And then we will ask if you have any questions. So the first question is, and this is the one most people want, what will the levy cost me? And I explained, it's $1.50 per $1,000 from the difference between the assessment and the market value. It's not the whole. That's the way Measure 5 works. By the way, the local option was put into place by the legislature because they realized that Measure 5 had really limited the district's ability to provide this kind of education that it had before. Eugene in particular was equalized down by Measure 5. So that was the whole purpose of the local option.
And we've already covered with this, but why do we need the funds? And the funds are basically to do the important work of teaching. And so that's why we need it. And so maybe the next one. Where is the money spent? And I've already covered that too. It's spent on operations. It's basically used for teaching assistants, and to make sure students get all the days that they need to be in school. And what's the percentage of budget in the levy? And I already mentioned that, it's 10.5 of general funds.
Often the question asks who supports it, and there's a broad spectrum of people who support it. And in 2019, the last time it was voted on, 72% of the Eugene voters voted to have a local option.
And right now, who opposes it? At this point, there's no one that we know of, or no organization that's opposing it.
As with any kind of public agency, some people will say they're unhappy with some of the action the district has taken. So why should we vote for this? Well, it needs to be understood that this is totally related to the amount of teachers or teachers' aides that are going to be in the classroom. All of this money goes directly into people, not into having people in the school. It has nothing to do with buildings, as Mary said earlier. It doesn't have anything to do with supplies. Its function is to have people in the classroom.
The last question is, what happens if the measure doesn't pass, which is a good question to have. If they don't get the money, there are basically 3 ways that they can change things. Lay off staff, either teaching assistants or teachers, or cut days. And that's how they would make up the money, and it'd probably be some combination of that. Paul and I both lived through having days cut, and we've lived through having to tell people that, or be involved with people that lose their positions, and it's really, as you can imagine, not easy for students to have bigger classrooms, lack of teaching assistants, or days cut. So, but we'll take any questions that you have, and we'll also make sure you get a handout with information Not this.
Oh,
Maybe
fine,
I
that's-
wasn't loud enough, but I am.
That's fine.
So I think I know the answer to this, but just to be clear, market value is market value as determined by Lane County tax and assessment.
Right.
Not by a recent sale, not by anything else.
No, that's exactly right.
My other one, as long as I've got the mic, is, are there a minimum number of classroom days required by law?
By the state, and I don't remember what that number is. I don't.
Anyone else?
Yeah, do we have any questions from anyone on Zoom? Okay. Anyone else have any questions in here?
I'll just give a comment really quick.
Sure, yeah, Barbie, you have anything you want to
Yeah,
say?
Barbie Walker, Eugene City Council candidate, Ward 7. I live just down River Road, also just blocks away. And thank you for standing up here and presenting this. I know it's late and it's not easy going place to place and try and sell people on more taxes. But the good thing about this, and what I hear from my teacher friends, is it goes directly to the teachers. And I think if you keep honing in on that, and that it's just a return to the levy that was already passed, years past, and that we just want it to continue for the teachers.
And
I think that's great.
really key for people to realize that your taxes aren't going up because of this. They go up, but not because of this.
Not because of this, yeah. Just my comment.
We also have a form that if you would like to say that you endorse the levy, also if you want a lawn sign, or if you have comments that you'd like to make, I'll leave form here, or people can sign it before we leave if you'd like.
Okay,
Or I can leave some here and you can have people that are on Zoom, however you would like to do it, it's fine with us.
okay, we will, because we are a nonprofit. There's certain things that we can do and certain things that we can't because we're a 501c3.
Okay,
So I don't know if endorsing continuing a tax would be where that would fall.
this would be individuals.
Right, no, I understand that, but as far as us promoting that, I don't, bringing you to a meeting so you can share with the community and tell everyone and make sure that everyone has the proper information, that's what we're here to do.
Whatever fits for you is fine with us.
Great,
We're just
Julie,
here
would you take those from them and see, and we can check?
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
I also just want to thank you for having us here.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and I know that it took a bit to get y'all here, and, you guys are out.
I love communication, appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you being here, and,
Thank you.
yeah. Thank you very much, we appreciate it, you could feel free to, go home and do what you need to do. Or you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, and go, please don't feel obligated to do that.
Thank you very much.
Whatever works best for you. Yeah, please go, there are cookies and sandwiches and.
Go around the room today.
So that's where we got.
However, it's.
That, we're gonna let Julie do that as an individual, she's not on the board, so she.
Okay.
You have a.
So is it not?
Yeah, you're here as a Whitaker resident.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Doesn't know it,
I mean, I don't know, but please don't forget to grab for those of you that don't know, the mission has really made some huge strides, and they are teaching people skills, and one of them is, I just read an article online about the kitchen. And not only are they teaching people to cook and to go into the food service, they're also teaching them how to serve. Lots of different things so that they have a marketable skill when they leave and go out on their own and get an apartment and start a new life. So they're very nice about you don't want a cookie.
I've had it.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
all right,
Margaret?
really- Yes.
Margaret, since we've got a little time, left, Lisa Warrens is here and was trying to introduce herself, but didn't make it into the public comment.
Hold on one second before we do that. Thank you for letting me know. And sorry, it was my bad. If you could please, if you're online in the Zoom, we do take attendance, anyone that works, lives, or owns property in the Whitaker, we are having an election that comes up in April. For a new board, continued board, whatever the case may be, and anyone that attends a meeting for the year and between elections is eligible to vote that works in the Whitaker, lives in the Whitaker, or owns property. So, Claire, our secretary, is online, and she would really appreciate if you would just put your information in the chat so she can write it down. Okay? That was all I had to say, Doriandra, but you go ahead, take over.
Great. Would you like to introduce yourself, Lisa? Lisa, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, Lisa, we have been emailing back and forth a little bit. Are you muted? I can't see everyone that's online. Is she muted, Doriandra?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a button at the bottom, Lisa, that you can unmute yourself if you look all the way, well. It's all the way on the end. I'm gonna assume it would be on your left.
Maybe she can't hear us. Lisa, can you hear us?
Yes.
Hmm.
Well, Lisa is running for Ward 2 as the council person and had reached out to me online through email and said that she wanted to just come and participate in our meeting, see what it was. She's interested in the whole city itself, not just she thinks that, you know, we're all intertwined and has some opinions that she wants to share. And so I told her that, you know, to come and she could talk in the public comment, or we do have plenty of time at the moment. So.
Hmm.
Can you even see her? Oh, no, yeah. Is she even on the Zoom? She is. Oh.
Yeah. I'm private messaging her and we all are, but she's just not maybe tuned out. Are you there, Lisa? Can you hear us?
Sure.
Doriandra, I think that there's an option where you can select a participant and ask them to unmute or ask them to speak or something. I'm not quite sure, but yeah.
I've done all that and now
Okay.
it looks like she's off mute, but maybe is still just not realizing we're talking to her. I've direct messaged her and we put many questions in the chat, but
She messaged that her sound quality is bad and that she can't get through, so.
oh, she can't hear us because of her computer, maybe?
Not sure why.
Okay.
Well, if you could type in there that we do have another general meeting on March 14th. And we have public comment in the first 10 minutes. And she is welcome to come to any meeting, you know, we encourage her to please join us.
Is the forum the 13th or the 14th?
It's on Wednesday.
The 13th, the 13th.
Oh, sorry about that, it's the 13th. It's been a really long month for me. All right, so.
All right.
Doriandra, just really quick, since we have just a minute and then we'll let Julie go so she can do what she needs to do, but do you have any updates for anything as far as what's happening?
Just a second. I keep trying to get Lisa in here. I think it's a problem on her side. Let's see, just one second. I'm chatting with her here.
Sometimes if I hit test the audio video, it all of a sudden connects me.
She's shaking her head. Yes. Can you hear us? Oh, darn it. All right. All right. Darn it. Okay, folks, I can't seem to do it. So. All right, updates from me then. Let's see, we are getting ready to host another disaster resiliency event at Washington Jefferson Park. And we'll be really excited to bring back our partners with CERT, City of Eugene's emergency management. We'll have folks from eWeb, Shift Community Cycle, Cascadia Mobility, and we'll be just really working again to prepare for, respond to, and recover from emergencies. Oh, Lisa, are you tuning in now?
She was right there.
Yeah, she came for a second. Oh, darn it. Okay.
Perhaps if she logs out and tries to log back in.
I'll tell her that. That's a good idea.
Yes, I can.
Oh, there, I can hear you now.
Hi, Lisa.
Yeah, if you want to take a couple minutes, please, you can take 5.
There we go.
It looks like your internet speed is really down.
Yeah. Oh, darn it. Okay.
It's muting and unmuting her, so it's your internet's flopping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dorian, we're gonna have.
Yes, I do.
It's
Okay.
so showing she doesn't, either she needs to move closer to her modem, or she might just have a dead spot in her. But you can shoot it.
So Lisa, please try to come back next month and talk during the public comment. So Doriandra, you want to go ahead and tell us about the CERT event, please?
Sure. We've got a tentative date for May 11th. We'll be working that out with the city, and we all hope you join us. We've got a couple other projects in the pipes here that we're working on, so we'll have more information about that at the next general meeting. And that's about all for now that I have. So.
I will also announce that we are switching. So part of being a neighborhood association is that we are recognized through the city as a neighborhood association, and the city provides every neighborhood association with certain things. One of them has been Zoom. So the city made some arrangement where we are moving to Google. So we will be moving to Google Meets either the next meeting or the meeting after that. We're still working on figuring that out. So just to prepare you for that, I think it will be a little bit different. But we're excited, and it gives us a whole lot more of options to use as a board within our community. So that we're excited about that. So what I'm gonna do now, again, we've been really blessed this year. Julie Bowman is, she lives in the neighborhood. Julie is actually a community member who is in charge of a committee for the money that's gonna happen in Scobert Park this summer, where we're gonna have music there, and she'll form a little committee to do that. And she's also taken on another task herself. So we really encourage, even if you are not interested in being on the board, if you don't want to make that commitment, that doesn't mean you can't participate in what we're doing. We want people to come and run a committee, to participate, to be involved in our community. So Julie's gonna come up and she's gonna talk about Adopt a Block. We're gonna now move to a neighborhood safety and sanitation. Do you need this? I don't think so. You're gonna do.
That actually gives audio visuals.
Sorry, Lisa. need Brianna to share the screen?
Nope, I think, well, we'll see. I think I've got it. I don't need her to show, I'm not gonna be able to have her share my screen because it's in the computer.
No, but she can put you on as a co-host.
No.
Okay.
I think, oh, can I not share my screen if I'm not a co-host?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Oh, Doriandra, will you please try to make me a co-host so I can share my screen? I have some just video stuff I was gonna show. Is that easy? I can do without it if it's not. Oh,
Yes, Julie, I've made you a co-host. Go ahead.
all right. So I spoke briefly a couple of meetings ago about Adopt One Block, which is a program I'm excited about, and I'm coming back with it to talk a little more because I know a little more and because springtime is right here and it's a great time to get out and do more things in the community. I'm gonna give some screen sharing a try and see. There we go. Let's see what happens. Oh, now I see. Maybe. Yay!
Looks good, Julie.
So this is one of the logos of Adopt One Block. They are an entirely grassroots effort started by a fellow named Frank Moscow in Portland. He launched it in 2020. And right now in Oregon and Washington, we've got more than 10,000 blocks adopted nationwide. So, not nationwide, what did I just say? 10,000 blocks adopted in Oregon and Washington. Starting to get some traction here in Eugene, and I'm hoping that it can really get some traction in the WIC, because I think it's a great program for us. For me, I think there are a lot of things that we could be unhappy with or demand improvement on in the Whitaker. And we're gonna talk about some ways to help by reporting problems by the next person in our agenda. But I find that I'm happiest and I feel most productive when I'm taking positive action to be the change that I want to see. And one of the ways that I'm doing that is with Adopt One Block. WISC issues are complex. They're gonna require multifaceted efforts to move forward, and everybody's efforts are valuable. So if this resonates with you, great. There are other ways that you feel like participating that make sense to you, that's fantastic too. Everybody has a role. Adopt One Block's core mission is cleaning up our world one block at a time. They seek to enable us to care for the block or blocks that you love the most, when and how you want, with cleanup supplies that they deliver to you for free. This is the stuff that they sent me. Here?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll show it for you.
all right. So when I signed up to be a block ambassador, they sent me in the mail.
You have the screen.
Oh, do I have a screen? I gave it away. Okay. They gave me a grabber and a 5-gallon bucket. I could have chosen heavy-duty trash bags instead. They also sent me some nice gloves. And because I said I wanted it, they sent me a sharps container. So when I go out each time, I get a little kitchen trash bag and I put it in my bucket. And then I walk around my neighborhood with my gloves on and my handy little cover, and I pick up trash. It's important to note that I am not required to do this anytime I don't want to. They ask and suggest that you clean up your block once a week. And that's what I've been trying to do, but I'm out of town, or if I'm sick, or if the weather is heinous. Nobody is gonna fault me for not going. I'm in charge of when and how I do this. I'm gonna see if I can screen share again and show who they are. They've got a little statement of who and what we are. So who are the people of Adopt One Block? They're people just like you and me. We want a clean block, a clean neighborhood, a clean world. We care about where we live and the environment. We want to make a difference with a simple act of kindness. We're independent. We want to make an impact on our own terms, our own schedule. We enjoy making a difference quickly and efficiently. We're mindful of our connection with each other and the environment, and we believe that simple, meaningful actions promote positive change. We do not seek notoriety or accolades. We aspire to do good work in our community with dignity, grace, and humility. It is completely non-political. Clean block is important for everyone. The mission stands on its own. So that's their mission statement. They've got this really cool heat map. So if you go on their website, you can see what blocks have been adopted. Looks like Jefferson West Side is doing really great. The Whitaker's got some good action too. Kind of fun to scroll around the city, see what blocks have been adopted, what blocks might need some help.
Could you share the link in the chat?
I'm done.
Thank you.
So as I said, it's really important to remember that no one is expected or required to take on anything they feel unable to handle for any reason at all. The trash I pick up, I have to dispose of at my expense. So clearly, if I am walking around my block and there is a discarded couch on the sidewalk, I'm not gonna pick it up. I'm not gonna haul it away. I don't have the time or the money or the resources to take that to the dump. Travis is gonna talk next about how we contact the city or the county, because that is their responsibility. Ultimately, the responsibility for trash and sanitation do fall on the city and the county. This movement does not remove those obligations, but we're seeking to engage and support our interested community members with supplies. What I mostly pick up are cigarette butts. Oh my God, the cigarette butts. Tiny trash, little trash, food wrappers, discarded food. Small things that are scattered about that frankly, the city does not have resources to come out and pick up all these tiny bits of trash. But it makes a difference in my personal quality of life if my block doesn't have all that garbage. I was already doing this, so I was really excited to hear that it's actually a thing, it's a program. So anytime you see an issue that's beyond your ability or your comfort zone, you're encouraged to report it appropriately. And Travis D is gonna talk to us about how to do that next. We got one more screen to share with some contact info. And I will put it in the chat as well. So there's an email, they've got a website, they're on Facebook. They have a lot more support up in Portland in terms of meetups and coffee shop gatherings, that sort of thing. I'm encouraging them to have one down here in Eugene. I'd love it if it were in the Whitaker. They say they're coming, but I don't know where or when. When we have that info, we'll bring it back to you. Anybody who's interested, I encourage you to follow these links or talk to the WCC. If you reach out, one of us will help you get started. It's kind of like the Great Whitaker cleanup, but it's ongoing. The WIT needs cleaned up every day, not just one day a year. Do we have any questions?
Julie, you've got a question from Chris Horton online.
Hi, Julie. Thanks for this. This is a great idea, and kudos for spearheading it. And this question, may not be for you, but I wonder how this gets complicated on blocks that might have a food pantry. I live on a block in the WIT where there's a food pantry, and the trash has been kind of getting worse of late. And I just wonder, how that affects Adopt a Block, and, which constituencies involved with establishing food pantries, what their responsibilities are and how that would dovetail with this idea, because I think it's a great program, but I also don't want to, I'd also want to make sure that you know, food pantries are being, you know, presented responsibly to, you know, unhoused neighbors or, you know, food insecure neighbors in need. So open question for the group, may not be to you specifically, but just something that I wanted to raise as a point of potential complexity.
Absolutely, that's a really good point and an excellent concern. As I said, this is not intended to remove responsibility from the city, the county, or food service, food banks. Anybody making a mess should clean it up. And that would probably fall in beyond the ability and resources of an individual who happens to live on that street. I don't know if we could encourage them to reach out. I don't know that having more supplies like this would help them. That's a complicated issue, and I'm not sure how Adopt One Block would dovetail into helping them be more responsible in that way. But it's a good concern and a good point.
Would you ask if anyone else has any
Yeah, any other questions
or comments regarding?
or comments? Oh, comments on what Chris said?
Yeah.
Well, sure, I can comment on what Chris said. I think it's important to reflect on being good stewards to your community when you're housing something, whether it's a burrito brigade or a food pantry that serve a lot of people. So just be mindful of when we're adding that element to someone's block or someone's neighbor, to just be good stewards the best you can. And it's hard to tell if it came from your pantry in particular or where it came, but like Julie said, it might be an incentive for people to sign up for the Adopt the Block around their pantry. But I have a different question. That was a comment I was thinking of though.
You have a question, Lisa?
Oh, if no one else wants to comment on Chris Hortons, I do have a question, a different question.
Travis's hand is up. Travis, do you have a comment or a question?
I just had a comment to Chris's point. I wholeheartedly agree, and you know, I believe it's the same situation with quite a few of the social services in the neighborhood. Some of the feeding programs that are happening at the park, shelter care currently has people camping surrounding their building, and doesn't seem to be making any headway in fixing that issue. I think that there does need to be some pressure applied to some of the services to hold them to account, you know, for the messes that ensue. And I think that's a valid point. I don't know how exactly to go about doing that. A lot of times the response that I get is that we need more garbage cans all over our neighborhood. And I don't necessarily agree that that's going to fix the problem, because it seems to me that a lot of the garbage we're finding in our right of ways are coming out of garbage cans. So that's it.
Absolutely, and the people of the Whitaker already do a lot. So this is in no way intended by me personally or WCC, or I'm sure Adopt One Block, to imply that the residents of the Whitaker are responsible for solving this problem on their own. This is just an option for people who would like to have some free supplies and something that they can voluntarily do on their street. But it's not intended to clean up things like are on the screen right now. Barbie, you had something?
Yeah, so when you touched upon the comfortability of people picking up different types of trash, that was happening with the sharp spots. I think people might wanna know, if it's not on the site, I'm sure it is, where you can drop off those sharps containers around town.
I do know that Whitebird will take them.
I think HIV Alliance.
HIV Alliance.
I think some also, Oregon Medical Group, but don't put me on that one.
Claire, you have something in the chat?
Yeah, I'll just read my comment out loud. I also live on a street with a food pantry, and I have to say that unless there's a way to track all trash back to a specific food pantry, in my opinion, it's besides the point to blame the garbage problem on the pantries. Cigarette butts are the #1 trash item I see. To my knowledge, those are not offered in pantries. I could be wrong. And I walk and bike a lot, so I spend a lot of time on the street.
Thank you, Claire.
Good point.
I have a comment.
Yes.
Here.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm a resident of North Pole. And I am also, I guess, a block ambassador.
Yay.
I started this in January 2024. And so far, I've picked up about 1.8 cubic yards of petty trash off the street over around 25 hours. I find it really enjoyable. I listen to a podcast while doing it. I usually do it for an hour after work. And just kind of, it's almost, the street goes through entropy, chaos, where like you have to put in effort, same way of cleaning your house, someone has to put in effort to cleaning the street. It will naturally accumulate trash that flies out of pickup truck beds. You might drop a receipt and not know, things like that. I find more often I'm picking up candy wrappers, kind of saran wrap, lots of tin foil, sadly. No needles yet in my 25 hours. So North Polk is needle free, which is great. Yeah, I highly recommend giving it a go. They send you free supplies. I've gone so far as to purchase a bike trailer, and I bring that around with a sweeper and dustbin and with a 25-gallon trash can, and then walk around with a bucket, pick up trash, throw it into the trash can in the back and keep going for a few hours. So I think Whitaker can maybe put together a more organized group. I know I've seen other people walking around doing this. It'd be great if we could all come together and share resources, create like a supply depot where we can have more professional equipment, maybe some more expensive things that we can loan out to each other to be more effective. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, thank you.
So I just have a statement, and
Okay.
I just want to say that, you know, Julie, you nailed it right on the head when you said this is an extremely complex problem, and there is not just one right answer. And what it's gonna take is for us all to somewhere meet in the middle, if we want a clean neighborhood. You know, I think that it's important that we use all the resources that we can, and that also includes spending an afternoon, getting some steps in and going out and picking up some cigarette butts and some garbage out of the street. But as Julie stated, you know, she's not gonna pick up a couch or a huge pile of burnt stuff. And so these are all great resources that we're sharing. And they all can be used, and it's not a matter of saying, oh, this is better, or this is that, or that is that. The truth is, do we want the streets cleaned up? You know, do we want to live in a neighborhood that is cleaner, safer, that's nice to walk your kids down the street? Then we'll have to take some responsibility and make that happen as well. And thank you very much. You continue, but you're doing great.
That's all I've got unless there are more comments. or
I think we
questions.
Can we ask your name, sir?
Will Phillips,
That's right, well, that's my dad's name.
both sides.
Are you William?
Will.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I live near the corner of Jackson and Second, but right past the railroad tracks there. And it's, down from here, it's like right on the path home. And it's almost like a river collects rocks. It just collects homeless camps there all the time. And I would just want to commend the city maintenance website thing. Cause I have, when I'll see like, you know, 5, 6 tents all in a row and developing it, I take a photo, post it on that site, and they'll come out there within a day or two. They've been really good about dealing with people, moving them on, and keep, my grandkids walk through that, you know, going back and forth from our two places all the time. Sled Park and, you know, just back and forth. And the city's been really good about following up on that. I just wanted to pass that along to the city maintenance website.
That's fantastic.
Thank you, yeah. Well, Travis is gonna talk about that in a minute.
Yep.
Can I ask what business is it that you own?
The River Path Inn.
Ah,
Oh, beautiful.
It's a little family business, my son and daughter-in-law run it, and we have a triplex on the other side, so we've got like a big family home, and then we got the family business on both sides of the track. So, you know, we're concerned about the railroad noise and just the quality of the neighborhood. And, you know, I was thinking on the block project, honestly, I've lived there 25 years and I've been doing that on the corner run. And it's like, I was thinking, well, what would be any advantage to joining a club of people doing it? I mean, not to, I think it's a good idea. But, the idea of getting together as a community and getting people together is a good incentive. But what's the incentive?
So I also already cleaned the street in front of my house. So I already cleaned the street in front of my house because I don't like to see garbage on the street. And, I was like, free supplies? I'll sign up for that. I'd like a free trash grabber and a bucket and some gloves. I already have a Sharps container, but a new Sharps container is always nice. They also offer a little support. You can reach out to your block captain, or there are people you can reach out to if you would like some support. I just thought it was a cool program to get more people to maybe do what you and I are already doing because we want to. And it does get me to walk all the way around my block. I was mostly just doing the block in front of the street in front of my house.
Great way to get to know your neighbors.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Yes.
That's what COVID changed a lot of things for a lot of people. And a lot of people stayed in their homes and still do, to a certain point. And, it is a great way to get out, to meet your neighbors, to say hello, to talk about things that affect each other and make a difference in your surroundings.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I, great job, Julie, I think pursuing something and maybe meeting for coffee in the morning and saying, hey, this is what we're gonna do today and map out the neighborhood and, pull in more people is a great idea.
Yeah, I see you have your hand up.
So Julia, I was thinking about this because I have been picking up our end of the street and the entrance to the park forever. I do it 2 to 3 times a day. Just to keep the cellophane and other things away from the animals and the dogs, the many dogs. And I decided I better join Adopt a Block because I think it might provide inspiration for other people in the neighborhood. That more of us sign this up, it might provide just a little inspiration. So thank you so much. I'm in the process of adopting part of the park and the already been cleaned up. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Thea.
I think another consideration might be that they must surely operate on grants. And the more people that they have signed up, very likely supports them in getting more grant funding. I don't know that for a fact, I'm speculating.
Yeah.
Barbie?
One comment I just thought of with the grants and getting to know your neighbor, is if you do want to remove that couch and you are signed up through this because the city or the county isn't coming to move it, you might encounter somebody that has a dump trailer through the program. Or you might find somebody that can write a grant for the program just through sharing. So that's a nice kind of incentive to be a part of it. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to go out every day, every week to clean up, but I just thought of that.
Anyone else have comments or questions? All right, well, thanks for listening. Look for more on this program. We're gonna be promoting it this spring, and there may well be some social gatherings or something that we do around this. Thank you.
Julie, thank you very much. Thank you very much for all of the work that you do.
Thank you.
You got everything there?
Just about.
And it's important to remember that there is no right answer or no wrong answer. It's just a matter of us using all of the resources that we can. So with that being said, we're gonna go on to the second part and Travis, who has lived, he was born and raised in the Whitaker. He actually is gonna talk to us about what to do, how to report if you see that couch. Claire, go ahead and say what you have to say.
Oh, I was just reminding folks who joined the Zoom meeting late to please let me know if they live, work, or own in the Whitaker, so I can record it.
Right, and their name, please. Email if possible. And something real quick, Travis, before you you get going and, sorry, our new illustrious executive director has started to do a monthly newsletter, which is fantastic. And we are sending it out once a month through email. So it's saving on paper, it's environmentally conscious, all of that, one less thing we have to pick up on the street. So please, if you're interested in being on that email, sign the sheet that's over here and put your email on there. And we'll send you a newsletter about what's happening, or please put your email in the chat and we'll make sure that your name gets on the list. With that being said, yes, Thea, did you have something?
Yeah, I'd like to introduce Travis, and then I'm going to share my screen so that Travis can, we did a slideshow, so that will help people.
Fantastic, and we're really excited to see what Travis has to share.
Hi,
So,
well,
Travis,
thank you, Julie, for that great presentation. That's a hard act to follow. That was very well done. I appreciate that. I appreciate what she said about everybody goes about, helping their neighborhood in different ways. So if anything that I put forth offends anybody or doesn't jive with you, feel free to do it your way. But this is my way. This is the way that I do it. And this is the way that the city has consistently acted when asked. So I'll give everybody kind of the lowdown of the various reporting tools that we're able to access. So let's see, that being said, I think the most important thing for reporting is to understand that there's basically three main reporting tools. There's public works maintenance requests, which deals with, or here, let me go back. There's park watch, which is anything within the park. Garbage, graffiti, camping, drug dealing, you name it, you can put it on the park watch within the park. Then there's parking. That has to do with vehicles, trailers, any vehicle on the right of way. Anything else outside of those parameters, parks or vehicles, goes to public works maintenance. And a lot of people don't know that is probably the most effective tool. Public works maintenance request is what keeps our streets, our right of ways, our beauty strips clean and safe for everybody to be able to enjoy and appreciate. So let's see. That being said, where are we at, Thea?
can you see the screen? Or is Dorian, can you see the need
Yeah, so
with safety and sanitation issues or not?
we can go to the first slide.
Are you able to see it?
Need help with safety and sanitation issues.
Okay.
So the next slide. So this is public works maintenance request, and that is invaluable to keeping our neighborhood livable and not toxic. Go ahead and switch to the next one. So on reports, there's different ways to do it. The most important way to do your report is adding an address. Always find an address. It doesn't matter if it's exactly where the garbage pile is or the sidewalk obstruction or the undesirable behaviors that you're reporting. Find an address, move the cursor to approximately where the problem is, and then describe the problem. Usually the drop-down menu will give you exactly whatever the problem is you're trying to report. If you have to get creative, you can write that into the comments and explain what the problem is. A lot of what I find to be very, very effective is calling it out when it's a public health and safety concern, calling it out when it's a livability concern. Those are not just words. Those are descriptions of what we are experiencing all over our streets. to a level that's unprecedented. I have never seen the Whitaker in the state that it's in the past, 3 years. It's just kind of devolved to a point that I find it intolerable myself. So using your words is powerful with the city. Let them know when there's something that just is not acceptable. That's important. I like to take pictures, and then I write with my editing tool. I write things like, as you see, the addresses, what the situation is, and then I submit it. So we can go next screen.
The one on 580 Adams had been reported. This has been there for 2 weeks, folks, and today we moved it up the scale to get it cleaned up.
That's in front of Bruns Market. So I also want to say these are all photos from the past 3 days. These are not by far not the worst of my pictures that I've taken. I've got over 10,000 pictures that look just like this in the past 3 years. I've been extremely active on reporting. I've reported well over, I'd say, 2,000, 3,000 reports. Reporting is what's going to get our neighborhood cleaned up. And the more the merrier. So if anybody is into reporting, report on. That's what I say. So garbage in our neighborhood needs to be reported. We don't need to live in a neighborhood with garbage everywhere. You can go next slide. This is the little hidey hole on the left, across from Territorial, and I frequently report there because it's a dead end and someone's got to do it. And I think there are neighbors that do that also. But the more the merrier, like I said. Here on the right is a sidewalk obstruction that stops people from being able to get through the sidewalk with their wheelchair. That's an ADA issue. It's a hazard. So that's, I say it like it is. That's a hazard. That's a garbage pile in the middle of the sidewalk. Yes, the red truck is also, if your sidewalk is obstructed, you can report that also, Claire. You're accurate. However, on the other side of that red truck, Claire, for just for your knowledge, there is no sidewalk. So in this case, that is not actually blocking a sidewalk. That the sidewalk ends right there. So next photo. So these things, it's the Whitaker Cooperative. They put someone or multiple households puts their piles, and 9 times out of 10, if not more, it's crap. It's not. It's a real well-loved couch. It's something that nobody really wants to bring into their home, and then they leave it and leave it and leave it. You can report those things. The Public Works will come and pick that up. The couch that showed up sometime in the last few days, maybe week. Same thing as Julie said. It's expensive. I've probably spent over 500 of my personal dollars dumping trash and truckloads of garbage out of the Whitaker in the past 3 years. So go to the next slide. That's maintenance service requests. Anything blocking a sidewalk, anything on the right of way, beauty strip, any garbage, anything in the roadway that's blocked, that's a garbage pile, I report it. So next slide.
A yellow highlighted is the website, but you can also call the phone numbers.
Oh, that brings to the point. I follow up my complaints. I will call that 682-4800 number, and I will talk to the lady that answers the phone, who's usually her name's Sandy. And And I'll follow it up with an email if I have to. Having it on paper that you want action and that you've made a report, sometimes 72 hours ago, sometimes a week ago. It gives you more it gives you more to to go on when you're filing your report or making communication with them to get action. You got to really be a squeaky wheel with the city. If you don't hold them accountable to the levels of trash throughout our community, they're not going to clean them up. So next slide. These are also public works maintenance requests. It's not just garbage, it's camping. Any tent within 5 feet of a roadway is not safe. It's not safe for the campers themselves, and it's not safe for the public. That's an obstruction and it's against code, and that is something that you can report to the public works, and I do. I also report the grocery carts. Next slide. This is someone who decided to set up camp on Grand Street, the head of Grand Street, and they moved fairly promptly. I didn't actually file a complaint with that person, just moved. But again, you can't camp within 1,000 feet of the school, and that goes for vehicles too. 5 feet of a travel lane or 1,000 feet of the school. And granted, I'm not pulling out a tape. If someone's 955 feet from a school, I'm not going to complain that they're 1,000 feet from the school. But Whitaker Elementary is a half a block from that tent, so I think that that's pertinent. Next slide. Again, the rules are in place for safety. It's not safe to pitch a tent on the side of a street. This here on the left is on Monroe off of 6th. People come around that corner fast. It's not safe. I've also got pictures on that same corner of 4 people smoking what appeared to be some sort of white dope in front of Enterprise Car Rental and having a good old time. That gets reported to the police. And I don't do much police reporting. Frankly, I stick to the city's cleanup efforts more than unless it's something real bad, I'm not going to get the police involved. To each their own. You can call the cops, you can report to the cops. I choose to do public works maintenance requests, parking, and park watch. So again, if something is intolerable, call them. 541-682-4800. Sandy will answer the phone 9 times out of 10. And you can just let her know how bad it is. I'm passionate. I always give them an earful. I always make sure they fully understand where I'm coming from. And I think that people that care about their community should be at a first name basis with the city. I know I am. So next slide. Park watch. This is an effective tool to keep our parks safe and accessible for all. Next slide. Again, these next few pictures are just from like 2 days ago. I've got thousands of these. It's intolerable. This next batch, there's hardly a vagrant to be seen in the photos. This is just abandoned trash all over our parks. Next slide. I report the stolen grocery carts. Those are expensive and they don't belong to anybody but the grocery store they were stolen from. Next slide. I report these kind of things too. You know, they put $1 million into that park after they put a COVID camp there, and that level of mud all over our sidewalk is due to a, you know, kind of a shoddy reconstruction of our park. They changed out the metal light posts for 2x6 wood lumber light posts, and they haven't effectively fixed our park. So I report it. I report signs that are broken. I report graffiti all over the parks. It takes us doing that, and I do wish that more people. I believe that there are some people doing that in our neighborhood. I wish that there was a lot more people reporting. It works. It's effective. It shows the city that we need help. We need a disproportionate response in the Whitaker because we have a disproportionate problem in the Whitaker. I don't just stop in the Whitaker. I go anywhere I go in the city. If I go for a walk in Golden Gardens and there's trash, I report it. On the other day, this is what I saw in Razor Park, so I reported it. And they are now heading down, last I saw, going north on River Road. So they're going to go set up another, you know, trashed out camp somewhere else. It's unfortunate, but, you know, being consistent and reporting is one tool that is effective. It works. It's time consuming, but it's what we got. It's what I've got. Next, please. Okay, there's that. So I know Julie had mentioned something about the county. The county doesn't really have anything to do with the county is not very effective at fixing the problems that we're having in the Whitaker. There is some county land on the corner of Chambers where it meets River Road and Northwest Expressway, that vacant lot, that is county. So when that gets out of control, while I'm driving out to Jerry's, if it's out of control and there's trash everywhere, I'm going to report it. I think it's a good thing to do. I know that it's a little, some people think it's controversial to be a reporter or you know, they've got issues with it, but it works and it's a tool that the city gives us, and we all pay something to be part of this community. So I think that why not use the tools that we're given. Okay, so this is parking. This is the third report. So you've got Park Watch, you've got Public Works Maintenance, and then you've got parking. And parking is a separate reporting tool. Now, these are just from the last couple of days. It's gotten a lot better. A lot of the camping, we're getting really bad. They were bleeding into people's yards. They were dumping raw sewage. They were cooking meth in some of the RVs. These are all things that happened in the Whitaker. It's gotten better, and so I'm encouraged. You know, if you want someone camping in front of your house and you don't have a problem with it and they're keeping their space clean, don't report them. That's how I operate. I don't just report every single person if they're running a tight ship and they're not breaking any sort of law. And you don't need to report everything. But if it's something that's creating a hazard or a scene, they get reported. So I like to put addresses on my pictures sometimes, because sometimes you just take a picture and then you forget what the address was. So I'll just stop and throw an address on my picture, and then when I do my report, I know exactly where it was. Next photo. That's I think that is that it.
So that's the report where you can report for camping, I mean, for parking.
Parking, yeah, and that's the cool thing is when you get, if you're on that website, if you're on the parking website, right there in the green, there's the maintenance service request. That's for garbage, for debris in the roadway or blocking the sidewalk. And that's a good way just to jump over and do one of those if you're having trouble. It's hard to navigate these different websites. It's hard to bring them up on Google sometimes. And the city doesn't make it super easy for us. I'm just saying. Again, I didn't report like this one here on the right. I didn't report it. It's on West 3rd in front of the food thing. That thing's been there for, I think off and on for years. If the people that live in front of that thing aren't reporting it, I don't know what to say. I don't know if parking, I don't know if parking enforces on them. I think that there is some favoritism within parking. I think they choose who they enforce on and who they don't. They won't admit that, but I think that is actually the case. That's my take, by the way. That's not a fact. That's what it appears to me after completing thousands of these. But again, following up with a phone call directly to the city or an email is really an effective tool. One last thing I'd like to say about the reports: take a screenshot of your report. When you submit it, it will give you a number. When it gives you that number, take a screenshot of it. Take a picture of it. That way, when you call back 3 days later, because they haven't done anything, you can say, this is my report number. Why has this not been dealt with? So. And this was just on, next to Skinner's Butte. It's in front of someone else's house. I also didn't report that one. I was just trying to get some pictures for the slideshow. But again, it's, these are plateless. Some of them are plateless. Some of them are 5 years expired. There's all kinds of reasons that you could report a lot of these vehicles. If it's not bugging you, don't report it. If it's bugging you, report it. That's kind of the way I work.
Travis?
Yes.
Chris Horton has a question, please.
Okay.
Go ahead, Chris.
Thanks for this, Travis. This is for you, or maybe for someone else who knows. But what does the city do with this data, and how do they prioritize it and aggregate it by type? Just because obviously you are a what seems a very squeaky wheel, and I'm sure there's some folks in the Whitaker who do report, and some folks who may not, and that's okay. But I just wonder how the city prioritizes this, and I ask just because as a resident of the Whitaker with with 2 small kids, public safety is very important to me. And there was an incident a few months ago where there was a camper parked in front of my house for 2 weeks, and I know myself and several other residents who lived within 100 meters of the camper were really active, but it felt like we had to go above and beyond and call EPD non-emergency. We had to call parking services, and and whether this is just being upset at the situation or paranoid, I couldn't help but think that if I lived in the South Hills, or if I lived in Spyglass over by Oakway Golf Course, that that camper wouldn't last a night. And I just wonder how I can not have to think that anymore, and just
well, I will
don't
tell
know,
you,
Barbie, it's a tough situation to be in as a resident, and I want to report, and I want to make sure that I'm having that be equitably treated across the, the city.
I will tell you, I grew up off of North Grand, grew up on Ash Street. I rode my bike to school, to Roosevelt Middle School and to South Eugene, at least for the first 2 years of high school. So most of my life grew up playing sports with all the South Eugene kids. And I'm here to tell you, there is an inequitable treatment of the Whitaker community, period. And the city will deny that. And they will absolutely never admit that. And I make that point almost daily to whoever I'm talking to. But the reality is, you're right. If that was up on Spring Boulevard, it wouldn't last a day. So there's a lot of things that go on. There's weird policies that are being pushed that they're not telling us about. So policies change, sometimes within the month, sometimes a couple of months, sometimes 3 months, sometimes because of a lawsuit that they're having against them. Policies change. And so things kind of switch up, and you gotta keep your finger on the pulse to figure out what's the new policy. But I can tell you, across the board, the people that are the hardest to get to enforce on are people that are lawless. They're the people that are either that need police intervention, where parking actually requires a cop to show up because maybe they have a gun charge, maybe they've got some sort of criminal history that makes it so that they're not safe to make contact with. They might have an animal that creates a problem with enforcement if there's an animal living in the vehicle. There are some things that slow the process down like that. But there's also just that level of what I see as just different treatment in the Whitaker. I've had city officials tell me, well, it's most of your neighbors don't really have the same issue that you have. It's like, that's not really true. Most of the neighbors that don't see things the way that I see them are a lot louder than me. So, it's hard to hear the voices of people that aren't talking. And so that's why I make sure that I am trying to make a lot of noise. That's what it takes. It takes, holding them accountable. And again, I think that there are policies that they're not even being upfront about, as to why they let things go for longer with certain groups. Sometimes it's they don't like enforcing on people with disabilities, which is understandable because people with disabilities actually do have protections that change the way that they're treated versus someone who doesn't have those protections. So, once those kind of things get put into the mix, the city actually does have to tiptoe on enforcement. They can't risk a lawsuit because they haven't, crossed their T's and dotted their I's. So there's that component also. So, animals, disability, the person in the RV or the camp might even request a reasonable accommodation and say, hey, I can't leave today and I can't leave tomorrow, but I can leave in 3 days. And so the city has to accept that at times. It's complicated, and I basically just keep at them. I keep at the city. I keep at parking. I keep at the emails. I keep at public works, and I keep at the park watch. So it's time consuming, and it's frustrating.
And
But
to answer Chris's question about the data, they do keep track. The city has told me that Whitaker is not very good about reporting, so they don't think we have any trash issues. They don't think we have issues. The slide you saw on Adams had been reported for the last 2 weeks, and they actually asked for a report number, so we were able to find one and give it to them to get that trash cleaned up. And adopt a block would help, but some of this trash also has hazardous waste in it, has human waste in it, and that's not a safe thing for us to pick up. So that's a city level.
And again, I do think that, you don't want to lie on your reports, just like you would to the, the police. You don't want to lie on a report. But if it's a public health and safety concern, which to me, a lot of the behavior, a lot of the garbage, a lot of the illegal camping, a lot of it actually is a public health and safety concern, or within a day, it becomes a public health and safety concern. Buckets of feces, groupings of needles on the ground that I've seen, we've all seen it all. So, call it what it is, and they'll take you more seriously. If you just say, oh, I just want my neighborhood to be clean, it's not going to get as much traction as if you spell it out to them, what the issue is causing. And that ends up being more effective.
So I'm going to talk about this last slide. This is at the bottom of the slide, the up.com. That is where you can notify when there is trash. This was next to Grizzlies on Van Buren a few months back. And it took 3 or 4 notifications, but they yellow highlighted address. That's where you can find out about the zone. You can report trash, you can report encampments. There's also a phone number to call. And it took 4 months, and then also getting the city involved. And the city has started fining Union Pacific if they're not keeping the trash off the tracks. And so that's where why you're starting to see the tracks a little bit cleaner, is that the city has been fining Union Pacific. It becomes an issue. A train's not stopping for trash on the tracks. It's not stopping for a grocery cart or a tent. And so this is where you can notify those. And then this is our last slide, because what we're really hoping for. And I think with Adopt a Block and just helping out, these are shots around Whitaker. Does anyone have any questions for Travis?
I think we do have some questions here. Will, you had a question?
He mostly answered it, but I think what he was saying, I do a similar thing on that, but the way he put the address right on the photo, I was just wondering how he did that. Is that, you just do it on Paint or something himself? But it's not part of the program.
Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, it's on my phone, it's an iPhone. I don't know exactly. I think Samsung has a similar feature, or other phones rather have similar features, but you take a picture and then you edit it, and there's usually a spot that you can do text. You can use highlighters. You can use, you can take a photo and just practice on it. I only do that. I just feel like it doubles, because all that information I'm putting on the photo ends up in the report also.
Yeah, good idea.
But it also helps my photo collection, my documentation, so that I can see what the issue was, what the address was, and all that.
Right. Right, great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, does anyone online have a question? I can't see anybody. I do see a beautiful picture of our neighborhood though. Travis, you've done a great job, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for letting me explain that. And I'd like to say, I'm more than happy to go over specific issues with people. They can email me at Whitaker Watch. Whitaker Watch, it's how you spell Whitaker, WHITEAKER watch @gmail.com. And you can email me with any questions. If you need help advocating for yourself, I don't mind doing that, as long as you're at least making the first step in advocating. I don't want to be called to just do the reports and stuff. I think that if we all start doing, reporting the issues that we're all experiencing, all of us are experiencing them. Our businesses are experiencing them. Our children are experiencing them. Our households are experiencing all these problems. They're, there's a lot of beautiful things out there, and then there's a lot of not very beautiful things out there. So
I
Travis,
Barbie has a comment as well.
Yeah, quick comment off of what Chris Horton was asking. And his question was, why do we see more of what Travis is showing us in his pictures in different wards than others? And I've lived in Eugene for over 25 years now and lived in nearly every ward, and he is correct. And we do see it in other wards more than others. And so Travis is also correct in that it is a policy making at the city council level. And so it's crucial that when we're doing policy making, that you have good representation. And in certain wards, there are certain counselors that are more vocal about cleanup or policy making, and they're more vocal of how to be effective, measurably effective on cleaning up within the city. And when it comes down to policy making, it doesn't just have to be a flat state or, a citywide policy blanketed. It can be different amendments or city administrative orders for different areas within the city. And if you look and listen and research a little bit, there are certain counselors that will have more vocal policymaking towards their ward because there's more waterways, or there's more schools, or there's more housing, or there's more commercial. And so there's these little amendments or administrative orders for different policies, and we too can enact that in Ward 7, different areas, whether we have more parks or the beautiful Ruth Bascom Greenway, or what we have, or right there along the Ruth Bascom is the waterway, which I know we did have some policy making there, that doesn't allow for this camping. So you'll hear different counselors being more vocal for their wards for policy, and they're correct in their policy making because it fits their ward. But also then once again, what we see is the South Hills wards making their policies, which directly affect Ward 7, and we're not meeting them representation. So what I see time and time again, and I'm not trying to be political, I'm stating the facts here, is we've got South Hill counselors making policy basically for Ward 7. If that makes sense. And about the data reporting, EPD has stated, and I do believe this, that report when you see a crime, report when you see trash or drug use or whatever you see, because then they keep track of it and they can allocate more boots on the ground or more funding for your area. So it is good to report those things if you'd like the resources.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there any, does anyone else, I can't see past the slide
Yes.
again, if anyone has their hand up, Briandra?
yes, we've got a question from Stephen in the chat. Can reports be made in Spanish?
That's a very good question.
It is. Travis, do you know?
I speak fluent Spanish, and but English is my native language, so I don't know that. I would think you could. A lot of the cities' websites are bilingual. I don't have I'm on my phone right now, so I don't have a computer handy to look up. Is there a specific site you're talking about? Parking, Park Watch, or Public Works? Or are you talking about all three?
It should all be bilingual.
I think there is. I think there's a language control on the site.
Yeah, there's a consensus here that they're all bilingual.
Okay, yeah, I can't give you. I can't say one way.
We could research that as
I'm not seeing it on Park Watch right now. Oh, wait, but I can select the language. Just a minute. Let me see.
I do know from talking to a lot of the Spanish speaking constituents that I've talked to, especially on Cross Place, that they don't report. I don't know I'm not talking for, American-born Spanish speakers. I'm talking about people that immigrated to the country, speak Spanish as a first language. They don't report. That I would say the bulk of them don't report. And there could be a lot of reasons for that. I can't speak to that.
So by going on Park Watch and hitting Google and choosing your language, Google automatically translates it to whatever language you need it to be. I just did that.
So I would like to know if there, I think it's important that on our website and on our Facebook that we post the links to do the reporting. I mean, and I'm just gonna take a second, and Stephen, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yes.
That's great.
So, there's a big difference between a bucket to go around and pick up foil and I live on Fourth, and I live right down the street from the kitchen that happens on Sunday, as well as you can stand and look down the alley and see Jefferson Park from my house. And so I get a lot of food where I live, and yes, you can take that bucket and that garbage can and go around and pick it up, throw it in the trash, no big deal. But what Travis has shown us today is a very different situation, and it's like I said at the beginning, is that, we have to find a way to meet in the middle. There's not just one clear-cut answer to what these problems are. It's a very diverse, complicated situation. So if we can please take the links that he shared and put them on our website, as well as put them on our Facebook page, that would be great, so that they're accessible to the neighborhood, so that people will have a way to go back and look in case they didn't write them down from the side. That would be fantastic. Please, Doriandra.
Got it?
And are there any more questions, comments?
I have a comment. Yeah.
Yes.
So Whitaker is a majority renting population. And I think that might be an issue where these reporting tools are difficult to get to at first. Once you know where they are, they're easy to use, but there's a lot of friction to make the first report. So that might be why reporting numbers are lower in this community. We have the same population numbers, but you'll find that we have a lot of churn in our community, that people sign 1-year leases, they deal with the issues during that 1 year, and then they move after that 1 year and try to find a different place. So I totally advocate for everybody to report, do your part, report, think about the people. You might just drive along the street and it doesn't affect you, but people that have to use their wheelchairs to get to bus stops, children who can't drive, they have to interact with our community on feet, on bikes, stuff like that. You wonder why we see less kids out? It's because of these issues. It's really easy for me to go from my house that's clean, to my car that's clean, to the store that's clean, and I never had to interact with the community and the streets in any way, just driving through them. When I had to walk, dirt is friction to me, trash is friction. When I had to walk over, when I had to walk by human poop, it just makes me kind of feel like, oh, I really should have drove. That kind of reaction, where it's like, I can just drive to the store and drive back, and I really don't have to interact with the Whitaker at all, just driving through it.
Correct.
So report these things. You'll find that as trash leaves your street, you'll see more people walking, you'll see people happier. It's not just from point A to B, you'll enjoy the journey through the Whitaker as you walk and bike and go about your day.
Will?
I just pulled, this is the one I keep on my phone, and it's maintenance, and then it just says, maintenance service request, and right above, I'm looking for, it's got your language button right there, so you just click that and turn the whole thing into Spanish.
Fantastic, thank you very much. And to add a little bit, We were shown last year or the last 2 years, we've done events at Scober Park. And had music there and had a great ice cream social last year. And all of a sudden you do see, there are a lot of children. I used to live down on that end of town. There are kids down there. All of a sudden you see them playing in the park. You see that it's more active. You see more people out there having picnics because there's activity there and because it's staying clean. As far as reporting goes, I just know myself from, and Thea, I see your hand there. I just know myself from talking to some business owners. I know that there's garbage that has sat out there, for 2 weeks. And the business owners report it every day and it's still there. So they do report. I know that there was a burnt down tent down the street from my house that was huge, and it covered also part of the sidewalk. And it was there until, at our meeting last month. We had, people from the city and we had to ask them. And Travis was here and showed them a picture. And all of a sudden, bam, that was cleaned up, but it had been there for over a month. And I know it was on my street and I know people called. So it's not that we don't report.
Yeah.
It's that our reports go unanswered.
Well,
And
Kelly
I-
McIver was at that
Have to
meeting.
share it with us. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, Kelly McIver was at that last meeting and he had private messaged me. He private messaged me and acted like it was not on the city's radar. And that's why I say, you know, following up your reports, getting a screenshot of your exact report number, or even phoning in and asking them for an email confirmation back with your report number is where it's at. You hold the city accountable. If you just report and walk away, they're going to tell you, oh, we always get to those in 2 or 3 days, just like they told us last meeting. It's baloney. They don't get to it in 2 or 3 days. They get to it when enough people are fed up enough that people are making phone calls. Or when they're, you know, done dealing with whatever they've prioritized besides the Whitaker. So raise, excuse my French, but raise hell. That's the key, is calling them, emailing them, finding who the Kelly McIver's contact information, Wendy Hood, who runs parking, make contacts with these city, with the bosses and get in their ear and, you know, and don't stop.
We all know they know you, Travis. Leah, you have your hand up. Did you have something you want to say?
I do. So I just put in the chat for everyone the 3 different links, one for Park Watch, one for vehicle and camping reporting, and one for debris reporting. Julia's put adopt a block in the so those are there. We'll get them added to our website. And then the other thing I forgot to share during public comment is that the city has heard us loud and clear, and they are going to have night people for Washington, Jefferson, Sladden, Maury Jacobs, Monroe, and probably Washington Park. The same parks that have the park ambassadors full-time. We're still getting to keep our park ambassadors, but they're also going to have a night watch group that reminds people when parks are closed. Washington, Jefferson is open later than the other parks, but all our other parks close at 11 o'clock. So that may help with some of the bad behaviors that have happened after hours in the park, because we're still having issues with fires and other things in the parks. So they are in the process of interviewing their new security team. So that is one thing that has happened from getting parks to come to our meetings.
Thank you, Thea, and thank you, Travis. Folks, we're behind on time, so.
Actually, do we have any other questions? We're good?
Yep.
Okay. So we're almost done here, and thank you everybody for coming. We do want to remind everyone that, you know, on, our meeting is normally the second Wednesday of every month. Please follow us on Facebook. Just go to the Whitaker Community Council on Facebook. You can follow us. You'll see we, are doing lots and lots and lots of social media. Adopt a Block is on there. Our meetings come on there. You see our agendas. We will email you, when we have a meeting. You'll see the link. If you can't make it in person, then please come on Zoom. The way that the voting works, we do have our election, which is in April. So we are actively seeking for new board members. We have so much stuff, as you can see, just talking tonight. You know, we're working on 2 grants at the moment, looking to get others. Adopt a Block, what's going on at Scoburg Gardens, working on the disaster resilience program. There's just so much that we can do within our own community. If a board member is something that you don't want to do, then please, you can just join a committee yourself. Much like what Julie is doing by doing the Adopt a Block. But we are looking for people that, you know, want to get involved and do as much or as little as they want to do. There's no pressure. Like you have to show up this many hours or whatever. The only thing with being a board member is if you miss 3 board meetings in a row, and there's board meetings and there's general meetings. But if you miss 3 board meetings in a row, then, there's a question about whether your vote counts for a quorum, but. So as long as you show up to sometime between last April and next month, you are eligible to vote in our election in April. And it will be right here. If you want to come in person, that will be great. If you want to join online, that will be great. We'll figure it out. We'll make it work. Are there any questions about becoming a board member, about the upcoming elections, about any of that? Don't get too excited, everybody, now.
Yeah, I'm curious about joining the board and running for election. What does that process look like? How do we send out a little blurb to everybody so that they know who they will be voting for? Or is it on the day? We
No, we vote on the day. When we vote, can I?
Absolutely.
So I know that you're planning on running for the board.
Yeah.
So what will happen is on that day is that we will, somebody will be nominated. We start with the chair, because let's say that, let's say the Barbie here runs for the chair, okay? And Barbie doesn't get elected, let's say I get elected the chair instead. Well, Barbie may still want to serve on the board. So we start at the bottom and work our way down. There are 4 seats. There is a chair, a vice chair, a secretary, which we really are excited about finding, and then there's a treasurer. And there's 15 seats total, and then there are 11 at-large board members. And being an at-large board member simply means your vote counts as much as anyone's. We take a couple of months off during the year, but we have 1 board meeting a month. Me being the chair, my vote doesn't mean any more than what your vote would mean if you were an at-large member. We all have equal say, and you know, it's like a round table sort of thing. One nice thing that we can do, for instance, Julie, she went in for a city grant to do the music at Scoburg Park. We're a nonprofit. Because we're a nonprofit, we qualify for more things. She did the music in the park with other people in the neighborhood, and they did it with no money for 2 years. And we just passed the hat at the event and said, hey, you know, let's get, you know, just like somebody playing downtown. So the fact that she actually worked with a board member, they applied for a grant, they got the money, is very exciting for us, and she's doing that and she's not a board member. So if you're a board member, if you want to run for board, and if there's something that you're passionate about, for me, my goal is to create as many committees as we can. And so that everyone in the area is represented. We just want an equal ground across the board. Will?
I just wanted to follow up on that, a little bit, because what I heard you talking about was how do I actually do it? What's the process? Do I send out a blurb? And I'm thinking like, as someone maybe voting in this thing, it's like, I would like to know who people are. I know a lot of people in the neighborhood, but is there such a thing as just a blurb that maybe Whitaker Community Council can send out a newsletter just so you know who you're voting for?
Well, that's a really good idea, and all I can tell you is that, when I was elected chair and became chair, I was as surprised as everyone. But I do believe that, things like that, we have a charter, we have, rules that we have to follow by. I think that it's not a bad idea to declare your candidacy or to say that you want to run and send something out to the community. But right now, as it stands, what will happen is that, if you want to run for a position, then we're going to ask you at the time when we're voting to tell us something about yourself, what you envision, why you want to be on the board. And whether it's on Zoom or in person, we will have you do it right there on the spot. The day that we vote, and then people vote. And that's how I've been around the board for about 5 years. There's many people that have been on the board longer than I. But that's definitely something that we can look at next year. Are there any other comments about that? Anyone want to add anything, Thea? I can't see,
You have to be present to be elected. So
yes. Yeah, there is no
proxies.
voting by, you have to be present to be elected. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that present means live or on Zoom.
Correct, live or on Zoom, either way. Correct,
so
you just have to attend the meeting.
So encourage your friends and neighbors and coworkers to come to the next meeting so they can be eligible for our board.
I think that anyone can run for a board seat, you just can't vote. If you are at the meeting. Is that not correct?
I think you have to attend
Attend
one
one
meeting,
meeting.
To vote.
be a member, and then when you're a member, you can join the board.
Actually, everyone that works, lives, or owns property in the Whitaker is already a member.
Okay, yeah.
That's how our charter reads.
And attend at least one meeting.
And you have to attend at least one meeting during the year to vote, but I don't think you have to run.
Gotcha.
But I may be mistaken about that. But we can have a lot of fun. We've done a lot of stuff this year. There was a lot of paperwork that we had to do, we had to get some things on track. This is our 50th anniversary. We have some ideas about a way to celebrate it in the summer that will benefit the whole neighborhood. That will be great. Actually, Kitty Piercy reached out to us on our website and we posted and said, please let me know what can I do. And so, it could be a lot of fun. The Whitaker Community Council has been involved in a lot of things. We have done a lot, since I believe 1974. And we have that nonprofit status, which, gives us the ability to do more things. So let's just have some fun. I want to have some fun in 2024-25. So do we have anything that, we have about 2 minutes left? Anything anyone want to talk about for future agenda items for the next 2 months are pretty full, actually. We will have, two candidates next month. Barbie Walker and Lindsay Leach have both agreed to come and, talk about the election that's coming up. You know, our city council it's important. It definitely affects some things, that we're talking about today. I can't, Travis, you have your hand up? We have like 2 minutes.
Yeah, just a quick one, maybe to add to a future meeting, something to the effect of how we can support a couple of neighborhood businesses that are having a lot of trouble with nonstop graffiti. I know the beauty supply shop at Fifth and Lawrence is over it. They've spent thousands and thousands of dollars repainting that wall next to the Whitebird facility, only for it to be recovered. And currently it's again recovered 2 weeks after she had painted it. So
I was on a committee with that gal actually a few years back. So yeah, why don't you join the board and come and start a business committee?
so that's what it would take, is a business committee.
No, not necessarily. I was just suggesting, Travis, that you do that.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah, but I think that would be a good agenda item, is how we can, facilitate getting funds from the city or from the Whitaker community organization to fund at least the paint. I mean, our local small businesses are in the red, just trying to keep their storefronts open.
All right. Well, one
Okay,
more
that's
thing,
it.
and then Barbie, and then that's it. I gotta cut you all off because you're good? You're gonna run and start a business committee? Well.
To touch upon what Travis said, when I was the University District Business Association Board President, because I had a business over there, we did have funds through collecting fees through the businesses around us that went to beautification. I headed, the graffiti removal over in the University District. So it can be done here through the Whitaker Community Organization. Ours was a business association, so we did collect funds. The city collected funds through different businesses, so we did have a budget. And so yes, you can have something, and I can talk more about that in person with you and how that all pans out. But we had a company, and their name's escaping me right now, that I would call or send a picture to via text.
Thank you guys very much. It's been a great meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. We gotta go. Doriandra, call me tomorrow, please.
Yep.
And
Thank you all for coming. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Doriandra.
Good night, all.
Next month, it should be a fantastic meeting, and come and get snacks.
No, and it probably works if the acoustics were better in here, weren't they?
Yes.
Bye, Thea.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Could you hear us all fine? Doriandra?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. All right, we'll see you all later.
Good night.